Every year for the last 3 years, Randy with Natural State Overland has been holding an Overland rally at Bird's Adventure Center in the middle of the Ozark National Forest in Ozark, Arkansas. We've really wanted to attend, but with Jarod's shift work at the fire station and me being in medical residency for the last several years, we have not had our schedules aligned to be able to attend until this year. Finding out the day before we were supposed to leave that we could even go left us very little time to get everything ready for the 8 of us. So we immediately hooked up the trailer and started getting everything loaded up so we could head out the next morning. The great thing about having an off-road camper is that it not only acts as a base camp where you can sleep and cook meals, but also it allows us to keep a lot of our things stored so we don't have to find it and repack it every time we're ready to go on a trip. And keeping things in totes that we don't already have stored in the camper really speeds up the process.
Now that the van and camper were all packed, I was able to start dinner and Allie went back to teaching the kids and helping them with their schoolwork. It was quickly becoming apparent that if we wanted to get the kids ahead on their schoolwork for our upcoming trip to Big Bend State Park, taking off for 3 days probably wasn't the best idea. After some discussion, Allie persistently encouraging me to still go, we decided that this would turn into a solo trip for me instead of no trip at all. So after dinner, Allie went back to helping the kids, and I used the daylight that I had left to swap the gear I would need from the camper into the GX. This was bittersweet as I wished that we all could have gone, but ultimately I was still excited about finally getting the opportunity to experience Rendezvous. With everything finally ready to go for the morning, we spent the rest of our night at home watching movies and hanging out as a family. Everybody's still in bed. We stayed up pretty late. GX is all packed up, so it's time to roll out. Let's go to Rendezvous. over the state line into Arkansas. Probably about 30 minutes out, and we'll be at Rendezvous in the Ozarks. Once I had arrived, a line had already formed at the entrance, full of people getting registered and signing waivers for the weekend. Eventually it was my turn, and I was finally able to get in and take a quick stroll around the campgrounds. After that, I was lucky enough to find a parking spot near the entrance to the area where the vendors were all getting set up. I decided now was as good a time as any to do a quick walk around and see what vendors had come to the event. After finishing my walk around, I was able to sit in on a crash course version of Stop the Bleed that was being given by Tactical Rescue Solutions. They did a great job teaching us how to put on tourniquets, pack wounds, and apply pressure dressings in situations where otherwise the patient would potentially bleed out. Once the course was done, I was starting to get a little hungry and decided it's probably a good time to go back around and figure out what that smell was. Once I made it back over to the Ozarks Overland booth, I was greeted by Chef Wes, given a cup of homemade cider and a plate of some delicious street-style tacos. Thank you very much, Chef Wes. Bird's Adventure Center is home to 2 grass runways that are frequented by brush planes. This weekend was no different, and throughout the afternoon and the evening, they put on quite the display of doing touch and goes between the 2 runways. It was a really great way to end the afternoon. Around the same time that all the planes got landed, the evening started to wind down and everyone started heading back towards their camps. I figured now would be a good time for me to figure out where I was going to set up camp myself. So I headed out and drove around the campgrounds until I found a place to get parked and get set up for the night. Right around dark, I found a place to set up camp. Got my kitchen set up, cooked myself a meal, and then spent the rest of the evening hanging out and talking with my new neighbors, Jacob and Thomas, making plans for hitting some trails together the next day. After a couple hours of joking, laughing, hanging out around the campfire, we all decided to head off to bed so we could spend the next day exploring the Ozark National Forest.